there is this thing, and what I'm about to show you could potentially change the planet's life, big time, if it ever gets out, and it's trying to, and it probably won't, because it's too big. But there's a new science coming out in the world. It's about ready to change everything. It'll have more influence if it ever gets out there than anything that's ever hit our planet before. It's called zero-point technology. There are certain places in a sine wave curve that are called zero point. I mean, there's technology out there right now that can replace every single thing that we have, just about, and using nothing but light. Just light, you can do anything you can think of. You can do things you can't even think of. And it's all based on, this is one way of looking at it. On a sine wave curve, there are 5 places where zero point is reached. That's here, 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 here. When we learn how, and we have already learned how, to stop light at these particular places and resume it in patterns at these places, things will be possible that would not normally be possible. This is where creation takes place. This is that place between maleness and femaleness. It's that place between the in-breath and the out-breath in meditation. And geometrically, it looks like this. Because this is the energy field of the grid around the body, or at least one of the earth bodies. We have 2 kinds of vortex energies. There's at least 2. There's 2 basic ones anyway. And one I would give the name of the white light spiral, and the other one the black light spiral. There's also the logarithmic spiral, which is different. And then of course you've got spiraling. There's one going one way and there's one going another way. So you got that gives you 5. Now you got 6. I don't know how many there are. I've never thought about it completely, but there's 2 basic kinds. One is white light and the other is black light. A white light spiral is this. Remember that thing where we did 1, 1, 2 using the diagonals as our measuring stick? If you start up here in this corner, here's the center of the body. Here's these 8 places where these spiraling energies that terminate. And in that square, we come up here, and we count this as 1. We make a 90-degree turn and we go 1. The next one is 2, which just hits the edge of this field. The next one is 3. 1, 2, 3, just hits the edge of the field. The next one is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just hits the edge of the field. Leaves exactly at 3 and goes out. So it goes 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, reflects inside the field and leaves. That's the white light spiral. But there's another possibility in there. Instead of starting from up here, you can start from down here. And this one goes 1, 1, 2, right through 0 point. 3 exactly reflects out. Leaves precisely at 2, and if you calculated it would hit the tip of there exactly. And it's like it's reflecting inside of a cube. The white light is the male. And all of the white light could come this way, but it could also come this way and reflect out. So you have one that could either rotate this way in or rotate this way in. But none of the white light spirals in any of these 8 places are going to even touch this blue area. All of the black light spirals, no matter which way you go, it's going to go 1, 1, 2 out this way, or if it came the other way, 1, 1, 2 this way. And as you look at them all, they're all going to pass right through this one place in the center called 0 point. The male one does not. The female one always passes through 0 point. This is the reason that the male, or the reason that the female only has the womb. This is the technology of the womb, the geometry of the womb. It's the technology, the geometry of creation. And so what they're now learning is how to create things right from 0 point. Once you're in 0 point, it's the great void. Anything's possible. Anything at all. And we're just now emerging out to begin to understand this. And science is bulging at the seams trying to figure out how to deal with it. And these, again, can be determined from the human body, from the very energy fields inside the body. These fields, by the way, that come around are really Fibonacci, and when you see them as Fibonacci, they form loop-to-loop patterns of energy, reflecting energies of patterns around the body that can either stay within or leave. They can leave. I don't quite know what all that means yet, and I've always been waiting for them to tell me. I know it has an important aspect in terms of meditation, but I don't know exactly what it means yet. But I figured I would show it anyway. This, the 0 point technology that we were talking about before, has, I'm going to show you right now just the male field. This is the entire male field of the lines of energy that would come off of a human body, just from those 8 places. These are all the male spiraling lines that come out. And I've shown you 4 of the female trackings. So you have one blue spiral coming out like that, one yellow one coming like that. You've got I don't know what that is, a purple one going like that, and a pink one going out like that. Notice these hearts. A set of hearts facing this way, then a set of hearts facing this way, then another set of hearts facing up this way, and then a bigger set of hearts facing over this way, and they're all at these 90 degrees angles to each other. You're going to see these later on, that they're real important, in a lot of the research that's going on. None of them pass through those center 4 squares. That's male, this is the female. In the female, these are all the grid lines coming off of that, and I just tracked 2 of the spiral, the Fibonacci spirals coming off there, and you see a heart facing this way, then a heart facing that way, then a heart facing this way, getting bigger and bigger. This is it's the energy levels of creation itself, both in male and female, and you're just going to have to watch what this means a little later as more things unfold here. Hopefully this will start meaning more and more to you. Okay. Well, only that it is the womb. What the female contains this organ in her, but in the center of that organ is this 0 point place, which is based on this geometries. And that you can, who's that? You said that? Yeah. And that you can, when we talk about the Merkaba, when we talk about some other places, I'll bring back this thing. The Merkaba is just a huge 0 point field that can take you through the great void, but you can create directly from it. Absolutely directly.
What is so important to understand about that 0 point technology? Is it that the whole power of the universe resides in this 0 point?
The 0 point is the great void. It's where it all began.
Where everything becomes possible from that point?
It's where, from that point, a change in something. You could be passing into 0 point. We keep passing through 0 point all the time. Every time we take a breath, we go through 0 point. But usually we pass through it and come right back out the other side with no change, meaning nothing changes. But at 0 point, you can go into it, make a change, and in 1 second come, and everything's totally different. Completely different.
So this will have to do with the CDs that you can manifest from the Merkaba point of view?
Yes.
So
You don't need to know it in the kind of detail. Again, like I said, you don't need to know this. You just need to know about it. You know.
In other words, you can manifest anything if you know how to do the shift as you go through the void, through the with your breath.
Once you go into 0 point through the Merkaba, then it is possible then to completely heal your body instantly of anything.
By following your
just
breath.
for example.
How do you know when you go through the void and you do the switch when to do it?
You'll know. I'll talk about it. You'll know for sure.
When we go to the next level of consciousness, our shape changes. We get taller, necks get longer, possibly.
That's right, though I haven't talked about that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the same ratios?
Yeah,
where
sure.
our waistline is up to our chest, we still have the same ratio?
Well, not necessarily that they would. In this body, the phi ratio is between the feet and here and there. If you were to look at the phi ratios in a Syrian body, they're still going to be there, but it may be that the navel is in the phi ratio to the knees or something else or like that, you know, that kind of ratio. I haven't studied that body, so I don't know. But it's just like looking at any other body. The same is going to be true of any extraterrestrial anywhere. It's all the same laws. It's the same everywhere. I just don't know what it is because I haven't. You got to mathematically sit down and work it out. Yeah.
Did you say that the Fibonacci spiral has no beginning and no end?
No, it has a beginning.
It has a beginning.
It starts at 1.
Okay.
Or you could say it starts at 0.
But the golden mean does not?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It potentially has no beginning or no end. If you're moving down it, if you're moving down a theoretical one, you would never find the end. If you're moving out, you'd never find the end. Whereas if you're moving out a Fibonacci one, you would never find the end, possibly. But if you're moving in, you would definitely come to the place where it began. If you study vortex mechanics, and there is a man named Walter Baumgartner, if you really want to know what it's all about. He was the head of the Walter Russell School. I just think I just put his name on the list here recently. But he gives outstanding workshops on vortex mechanics. They're outstanding. And just one second. And what happens is if you have a vortex of a logarithmic spiral, it will just keep going in and in and in and compressing and compressing and compressing and compressing. If you have a Fibonacci spiral coming in, it will come in and in and in and in and in and in and in. And when it gets to 1, it will click over. It will come back over here. It will go 5, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5.
Just keep going.
And so it'll go like that. It'll just come right back. It'll reverse polarity relative to itself. So even though it's male, everything's got a male and a female, and so one of those is going to be male, and then it's going to be coming out the opposite one, the female, whichever it is. Or if it's rotating in this way, then it'll still come back out the opposite polarity, going out the other way. And so that has a different kind of effect than something that's just going like this. His works are amazing. He's got some of the things. He's got most of his work is with water, and he's got water wants to rotate in a very specific spiraling energy, and he's got a glass tube in the exact way that water wants to run. This tube in exactly the way. But because it's moving exactly the way it wants to, it creates all this energy. And you can hold this light bulb up next to it, it's not even touching it, and it turns it on. It's really pretty good. He's got another one where he's got the vortex energy, probably logarithmic, because the energy moves in, and it moves in so small that the water, when it comes out, it's just like one molecule attached to the other. It's just like this little thin knife, and it'll cut right through steel. It's just water, and it'll right through steel.
My question was about free energy machine, which I believe he is also working with. And is it related to this illustration here on the board?
Yes. All your free energies are related to this or to 0 point. And that's, you can either look at it like that, or you can look at it like the geometry, but they don't know the geometry. All the people, at least all the people I know are working out, they're thinking of it more along this line, and in rotating fields, which are based upon Merkaba. They're basically Merkaba sciences that they're trying to develop, connecting in with tachyon or fourth dimensional prana energy to bring it in from there. And though everybody's trying to get these free energy machines, they already got free energy machines, and we can't use them.
When we go through this ownership, is Earth itself going to be re-inhabited by those of us who've made it through to come back with greater technologies? And what would
No,
technology?
we won't need technology. The whole thing with technology, I think, should be left for a little while, and because until I get to the place where I can really talk about what where technology came from and what it's all about, because there is technology is not our friend. It is the problem. Yes.
Like secret is in God-centered technology.
That's correct. That's right. A living fields of life based upon our connection to all life.
This is why I'm here. And I'm sure this is why everyone else is here. And this is the kind of thing that moves. You can do things alchemically.
That's right.
That you would never be able to do otherwise.
This is exactly.
And you can utilize regular technology with God-centered technology to create all kinds of things that you would never begin to dream. 51% is passing in metaphysical kinds of things that I've learned. Not only that, but 5% will change a whole population.
Yeah, I think it's 7 actually.
Well, to really, I suppose, solidify it, but then that's about as much that takes a magnet, a charge. But it works with the population.
Because in advertising, as soon as you reach 7% of the population, the next morning, 100% of the population knows your product.
This is how we're going to be moving, and this is what's been demonstrated in these isolated incidents of the things that have happened. So it is happening already all around us, and it'll be accelerated because the energies have accelerated.
Yeah. But we've got to go in the internal direction, because to try to find a technology to heal the problems of technology, though it seems like an answer in a way, as you get deeper and deeper into this thing about technology, I think you'll maybe come up with the same conclusion I have. It's just an illusion. We just keep getting deeper and deeper into the technology. I've seen technologies with my eyes that are so clean, so beautiful, so awesome, that you would think they would be the greatest thing in the world. At least I thought it was. And then I had the angels come to me and say, nope. And when I came back from that experience, I expressed my thing to the angels, saying, this is incredible stuff, this is the most advanced thing I've ever seen. And the angel said to me, no, you're not right. I said, well, what do you mean? I mean, that's amazing. They go, no. And they said to me, supposing you're in your house and you get cold, and so you say to yourself, I'm going to invent a heater. And so you invent a heater, and whatever it is, could be a free energy heater. It doesn't matter what it is, how sophisticated it is. You invent something to heat your room, and it heats your room, and it works. And you think you just got better off. But from their point of view, what you just did was give your innate power to an object. And you're now weaker, and you're addicted to the object. You now have to have this object. And so as the technology keeps growing, you make lights and you do this and you do this and you keep going on and on and on and on. As an individual, as a God-centered individual, you get weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker until finally you can't live without the technology. When you could have you could have heated the room in the first place just with the Merkaba, with your own energies, with your connection to God. And so what they said is the more advanced the technology becomes, the more separated from God they become, and the weaker as a race they become. But look,
would it be possible for us to live without eating?
Oh, you won't eat after this. Once you get...
That's one of the...
Are you hungry right now? Throw that man an apple or something.
It's one of our problems, you see. we have to eat. But I know that some of us, like the masters in the Far East, for example, there was a wonderful book called Lives and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. And they seem to live on the prana. They don't eat anymore.
We didn't eat before we fell. And in fact, that was one of the first signs that ascended masters knew that we had really, how far down we had fallen when we all started eating food again.
They seem to be able to make a bubble, for example, of protection for the night and be very comfortable in the middle of a storm.
It's the understanding of the Merkaba. If you're in the Merkaba and you got it rotating, you could stay warm and everything, all your needs, whatever they are, completely satisfied without doing anything, without having anything at all. You don't have to sit there and get dripping wet. You just have the water just go right around your field.
Can you teach us how to do that?
That's what I'm trying to do. All we have to do is remember how to begin to activate it, which is breathing the prana down through the pineal gland, coming out, activating the field in that kind of way, and beginning the rotating process. So you have one set that will rotate this way. Just an entire set like this. It'll begin to rotate like that. The one that rotates to your left, counterclockwise, is male in nature. It's electrical, and it is literally your mind. It's knowledge. And the one that rotates this way, which is an entire set, just like you see going there, is female. It's magnetic in nature, and it is literally your emotional body. And so when you happen to have just the right thoughts rotating this way, and just the right emotions rotating this way, then this phenomena takes place, which is called the Merkaba. And so that's why it just takes remembering how to do it, what it was about. The field is set up, and then the testing of the field to see that it's really real. And once the mind, and then once you have just even one experience, just one, you will never be the same again.
Does this only happen in the physical awareness, or is it possible to experience this maybe in dream time as well?
Well, you can remember what it was all about in dream time. Like in dream time, you may remember yourself flying, because that's the other thing you could do, is you can just lift off and fly with Merkaba. You could do it that way, or you could just simply disappear here and reappear where you want to be. The potential is directed by intention and what's possible. But you just have to, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. We're not quite to these are the kinds of things we'll be talking about on the last day. We got to wait till we get there. I know, we're all ready, let's go. Nobody wants to be here anymore, I know. It's that way all over the world. I mean, everybody's fed up with it. So who wants to, it's really...
They used to teach this in the monasteries in Tibet.
Oh, yeah. Sure. This is what in Tibet, the final test was after you had done 108,000 prostrations and throwing your mala beads against all the walls and the temples, and you walked around all the mountains and you'd done all the various things. And when you got really, really old and you're almost ready to die, then they told you what it was all about. Maybe they would tell you, and what they would, and then they would tell you what it was, and then they would see if it was really, if you could really do it, and they would sit you in a ledge out there that's maybe 30,000 feet in the air, it's 100 below zero, and you're freezing and everything like that. And they'd take all your clothes off, and they'd put wet blankets around you, and they'd say, dry them. And that guy, of course, would very quickly sit in there and start doing his breathing and get on all the fields. Pop that baby out there. It's 80 degrees in here, which would only be just inside the Merkaba shape, which looks like a flying saucer, would instantly be 80 degrees, if that's what he set it for. And very quickly, you would see a circle of snow melt in a circle around this person. And very quickly, he would dry these blankets and stand up. And he would demonstrate in real time to his teacher that he had done this. And Omni magazine just videoed this. Yeah, they were allowed to video it. They sat there and watched one of these guys do it. They allowed them. They would have never allowed this before, but we're ready. I mean, we're ready for this stuff. And they said, watch this. And he just did it. No. I don't know whatever's going to. I never know what they're going to have me do. I don't know what's going to happen. But this is where we're heading. This is possible. This is real stuff, and this is nothing compared to where we're going. Because where we're going is we're going to. That's nothing. We're going to create the very universe we're in, second by second, and everything in it. This way. There are 5 very, very special shapes in the universe. Anyone who's been involved in architecture or sacred geometry or any kind of geometry or various fields of engineering will probably know these shapes. The most familiar one is the cube. There's 5 of them altogether. I'll just quickly give them to you. There's the tetrahedron, tetra meaning 4, because there's 4 faces. And there is the hexahedron, or the cube, hexa meaning 6 faces. Then there is the octahedron, meaning 8 faces. And the icosahedron, meaning 20 faces. And finally, the dodecahedron, meaning 12 faces. Now, each one of these, or all 5 of these things, has something very special about them that no other forms in the universe have. There's certain rules, and the rules are, if you could create a form that has only one edge length throughout the entire form, only one face, this only has one face, same edge length, only one angle in it. This is 90 degrees in this one. Every angle is 90 degrees. There's only one angle, one face, and one edge, and all the points of this substance would fit on the surface of a sphere. That criteria comes up with 5 shapes, the ones I just gave you. And believe me, they have really tried to find other ones, and they don't exist. There is a way to create 2 more, which are based on motion and movement, but that's a high-level subject. It's not important for right now. And so you'll say to yourself, well, again, so what? What about these shapes? Well, they're called, they were eventually named after Plato, so they're called the Platonic solids. Though, I don't know if that's a really good name or not. He was not the one that invented it. And of course nobody invented them. They've just been here since the beginning. And if you read into sacred geometry books about these 5 shapes, I'm trying to keep these things from reflecting in people's eyes. They're like mirrors. Maybe I should get one that's not quite so big mirror. And if you read books like Keith Kirchlow or Buckminster Fuller or Robert Lawler or any of these guys, you begin to realize the importance of these. They're like the major primary building blocks of the universe. Their relationship is just everywhere in all kinds of ways, throughout nature and everywhere. And it's just amazing how many places there are that they have importance in. And yet, when you come right down to it and you ask any of these guys or read any of these books to try to find out what generated them, where did they come from, what is the source that was behind these things, there's silence. Nobody knows. And but what the angels say is, there is your source. That's what created them. It was the first system of knowledge that came out of Metatron's cube. You're now looking at, well, with the lines I've got on this page right now, you're looking at 4 of them. And I'll explain where the 5th one is in just a moment. And I'm going to pull them off of here one at a time so you can see them, okay? And we'll talk about what they are in a little bit. Let's just get them out of here first. If you take out this hexagonal pattern out, and inside here you see another hexagonal pattern, and then the 3 lines that go through the middle, and erase all the rest of them, you get this. Does everybody see that? Does everybody see that that's a cube within a cube? Who doesn't? It's a cube looking at it from this edge. Can you see that now? You can? So you're looking at a cube from this view. Well, that's where your first one is. Now, if you came back here and you were to take this triangle here, and this triangle here, and then this little triangle and this little one in here, and then the lines that go through the middle like that. When you do that, then you get this. It looks like a Star of David. Now what that is, though, is a 3-dimensional shape, a very specific one, which is hard to see what that is on there, but if you shade it in like this, it's a star tetrahedron, like this. Can you see it? Does everybody see it? So when you get the tetrahedrons, you get 2 of them interlocked. One interlocked with the other one. All 5 of these shapes are masculine energy. But everything has a polarity. So even within maleness, there's femaleness and maleness. And within femaleness, there's maleness and femaleness. And the same way with geometry. Though all 5 of these shapes are male relative to the sphere, some of these shapes are female and some of them are male. We'll see about that in just a moment. If you were to take out this, you see this rectangle, which happens to be a golden mean rectangle. And if you were to take that one out and this golden mean rectangle that's down in here, and then it's taking the big one, if you were to take this line that goes from here up to here, and that line that goes from there to there, you'll notice that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and then you'll have, from there you've got another one coming down to here, and down to here, and what that forms is an octahedron. I'll come over here and I'll show you. So what you now have is one of these, only it's sitting at this angle like that, with one of the faces flat to the other one. So it's got a flat part like that. It's sitting like that to the screen. Does everybody see that?
It's hard, that's a hard one.
It's harder, I know. It's harder. But you've got an octahedron. Mathematically, that's the view of this thing. Because when you turn, like this is a square, right? It's a square.
Right.
But when you turn it, it becomes a rectangle. And if you turn it just right, it becomes a golden mean rectangle, which happens to be the view that is right there. So it's an octahedron inside of an octahedron. Now the next one even gets harder. That's where it goes. If you erase certain lines of the original Metatron's cube, you'll come up with this. And this one is an icosahedron. You're looking at this form up there. And I know it's hard. You have a pentagonal cap on the top, a pentagonal cap on the bottom, and 10 little triangles around the middle. And you can actually count each one of them. This is one face, two faces, and then this one coming over here is three faces. This is the fourth face, and this is the fifth face, forming the cap. There's one on the bottom. And then if you carefully count the triangles moving around here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 6, 7, 8, 9, and then this one is 10. Your 10 triangles move around there. Now that is identical to what you were just looking at a moment ago. Oh, this is a drawing by Sulamith Wolfing. And with the Christ child inside of the icosahedron, it's extremely appropriate because this is the doorway to Christ consciousness. And baptism is the doorway into Christianity, right? This, in ancient terms, was water. Like fire, earth, air, water, ether. This is water. And this is the baptism of the doorway into Christ consciousness. So you can see the line is straight across in the back, like it was on the other one, straight across in the bottom, forming the 5 different patterns. Now the fifth one, the dodecahedron. I mean, they told me it was there, and I started looking for it, and I couldn't find it. And I looked, and I looked, and I spent 20-something years looking for this thing, and I never could find it. And Mackie went to look after me looking for 20-something years, and in 3 days she found a part of it anyway that was the first time I'd ever found anything. I'll show you what she found in just a moment. She did something I never even dreamed of. She took Metatron's cube and rotated it by the phi ratio, and this grid came out, which was incredible, which she calls Eve's grid, the Eve's grid. And I'll show you that in a moment. And she didn't even know what it is, and I'm beginning to understand what that one is right now. But so I started looking for this shape, couldn't find it, and about 2 weeks ago, in the last workshop, one of the students in here said, "Hey, you didn't connect a certain point to a certain point." I go, "I didn't?" And I realized on here's the whole Metatron's cube. I had not connected this point to that point all the way around in the whole pattern. And so I had 12 missing lines on Metatron's cube. I don't know, I just never saw it. And so this is truly Metatron's cube here. Now that's all the spheres connected by all of them, like they instructed me to do. And now with this pattern, you're now looking directly at a dodecahedron. It pops right out. Here it is in the red lines. Can everybody see that? Can you see the red lines on the page in there? The angles of these things, the lines drawn from there, exactly make the reflecting angles of all the faces, and you get a pentagonal shape there, one there, and one there. These are the other 5 sides at the sharp angles, and it wraps back around, and you have the other side of it also. I got to see it for a second. If you were to draw that line in there, that's the pentagon on the back side. There's the pentagon back on the other side. The whole thing is totally three-dimensionally wrapped all totally around, the entire thing, the whole thing. It's completely there. And I went, wow! And so you're the first ones that's ever seen this. Nobody's ever seen this before. And I was very excited about that. So, and there'll be another one, a bigger one on the outside of this whole thing that will enclose all this if you want to work it through. So, there were all 5 of the shapes. This is a clearer pattern of it. And I have a whole bunch of other slides if I wanted to do it, showing you how you can take the spheres out of the flower of life, and there's a way where you can show the ratios, come up with the length of an edge of a tetrahedron relative to a cube, relative to a hexagon, relative to a 5-sided edge of a 5-sided pentagon, relative to a hexagon. All 4 of those edges are all lines that are lengths found in the flower of life, but they're all interrelated to each other. And this was the pattern that Mackey found by turning Metatron's cube into a certain ratio, the phi ratio. It has a central 5-sided pattern with a full 5 that come off of there, and then if you just take one more off of each one of those, that's an unfolded dodecahedron. But this is an interesting pattern. There's a man named Penrose who made the Penrose pattern. What's his? Roger Penrose? Is that his name? I can't remember. And he did it. See, they've always tried to make 5-sided shapes that will cover a floor, tile patterns, but they never could figure out how to do it. And so he came up with this little shape here and another little shape, which was a wider angled one. If you took that shape that would form in there and put those 2 together, and you can make Penrose patterns that will cover a flat surface. And it was kind of a game for a long time. And recently in Scientific American, they would have people. It was just sort of like this game that was going along between all the Scientific American people who subscribed to that, to who could come up with the newest Penrose pattern. And then out of that, somebody had an insight. You see, there's something called diffraction patterns where they shoot electron beams, X-ray patterns rather, down through crystalline structures, and they can see where the atoms are located. And they only were able to come up with certain patterns and thought that there were only certain kinds of crystalline structures in existence. And then one day somebody theorized that there had to be these based on the Penrose patterns. And recently, and we're talking about like 2 years ago, they discovered a new kind of crystal in existence, which the crystal has always been there, we just suddenly became aware of it. It's called a quasi-crystal now. And they've now been able to come up with the patterns, the understanding of it, and it's opened up a whole new level of crystallology, I guess. Is that right? Crystallology? And the meaning of it is they suspect that pretty soon they're going to be able to make metals, say, about 10 times as hard as diamond, for example, based on this. And lots of other applications will start coming out. This is one that they don't know about yet. This is one based on pentagons, and the other one. Every single line in here is in the phi ratio, golden mean proportion. Every single thing in it, and all crossing patterns. Every line that you can connect together synthetically through there is golden mean ratio lines, and it's got to be one of the primary grids. It's an area of research I'm going to get into at one point. That eventually in quasi-crystal studies, I'll bet you, they come up with this grid as being one of the primary generating sources of the patterns.
Is it similar to a honeycomb?
To a what?
Honeycomb.
No, that's a hexagonal pattern, which is a little different. So you got these 5 shapes. Now we showed you where they came from, how they came out of the flower of life through the fruit of life pattern. And I want to just quickly show you that the number relationship. This one has 4 faces, 4 corners and 6 edges. And the tetrahedron is a real special one. The hexagon or the cube has 6 faces, 8 corners, and 12 edges. The cube, in sacred geometry, they have something that's called a dual. A dual is, if you connect the faces, this is one way to get to duals, you connect the centers of the faces of this one, and what you get is an octahedron. Okay? They're duals of each other. And look at the numbers. This one has 6 faces, 8 corners, and 12 edges, and this one has 8 faces, 6 corners, and 12 edges. Then you have the dodecahedron, which has 12 faces, 20 corners, and 30 edges. If you connect the centers of a dodecahedron together, you get an icosahedron. And again, 12 faces, 20 corners, 30 edges, 20 faces, 12 corners, 30 edges. They are duals of each other. You can take this as your major building block, and you can take 2 tetrahedrons and slip them together into a star tetrahedron like this one. Take 2 tetrahedrons, pass them through each other into a 3-dimensional Star of David, and you have a cube. Okay? You can take 5 tetrahedrons and put them together in an icosahedral cap type thing, and those will assemble together into a dodecahedron. But it takes 60 of them to do it. And then the dual of that will create one of these. I've been asked many times about why there are 72 orders of the Great White Brotherhood. And if you've probably read this many times before in other places, I don't know. But there are 72 orders, and the first order is is Alpha and Omega Order of Melchizedek, and the last order is the Brotherhood of the 7 Rays. Those are the 2 orders that I'm connected with, and I know very little about what's in the middle. And but the reason there are 72 orders is because these 72 orders have one thing. They are to create the Christ consciousness grid. The creation pattern is that there's 60 tetrahedrons in here, which is the building block of this, and there are 12 points that are the center points in the center of each one of these that form the icosahedron. And the 60 plus the 12 is the 72. And so each one of the orders is working with a different facet or area of the grid of the Christ consciousness to create this on the earth. Remember, we started as an octahedron, and that's a view of an octahedron from there. That's that view of the octahedron. I like to use different ones. There's 3 symmetrical views of each one of these. And so remember, we started with the octahedron, then we went to the sphere. That's the central column, which is the neutral column. Over here, the tetrahedron and the cube is literally your left brain. Remember I said how the triangle and the square was the logical side that was forward on the male? And this is the female side, the right side of the brain, either of a person or a planet or anything else. And this is based on 5, the pentagon. And so is this based on 5, again, when you see that it's this thing. And so this is female, this is male, and this is child or neutral aspect of the things, of life. They have, in terms of mathematical relationships, they're endless. You could just go on. You could write reams of books about all the mathematical possibilities that are all in there. They're all interconnected again and again and again.